Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Sunday Matinee. I'm your host, Ben Stahl. We are on episode 51. The road to 100 begins now. And today we are going to conclude a little conversation that we had about 3-4 weeks ago when we were talking about Volume 1 of Stranger Things 4. Well, in the weeks that have since passed, the last two episodes have dropped, and we have watched them, and now we must finish what we have begun. So let me introduce the panel. Returning from the Stranger Things 4 Volume 1 episode, the entire panel is back. Miles McGillivray. Miles, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Kathleen McGillivray, welcome back.
Thanks for having us back.
Of course. And Bjorn Whitney, who, if you are not watching this on video, has the perfect background for this episode. Bjorn, welcome back.
Thrilled to be here.
So, as always, before we get into the meat and potatoes of it all, we've got some news. We're going to talk about what we're watching. So, yeah, let's talk about some news here. I thought this was just the most wholesome thing that happened in this last week. Daniel Kaluuya, who, of course, is probably most famous for starring in Jordan Peele's Get Out and his upcoming film Nope, is producing a film based on the television character Barney the Dinosaur, which, when you just read that headline, sounds like the most ridiculous thing. And I kind of wondered, is this going to be like the same sort of deal that they're doing with the new Winnie the Pooh horror film? Is he going to like take Barney and completely turn it on its head? But it's supposed to be something of a heartwarming or heartbreaking story, because he's talked a lot about how do children get into film and television? Well, this is exactly the kind of thing that gets children hooked onto visual media. So he figured this is a good topic to explore. So I'll be very curious to see what he can bring to this classic character.
When I was a kid, Barney was like just a little bit past my age group. And I remember just everyone hated Barney from my grade. But I'm excited to dive a little bit more into the Barney lore, the backstory, the world.
My mom hated Barney. She wouldn't let us watch it in the house. She just thought his voice was very annoying. And I was that demographic. I mean, Miles is a couple years older than me, so I was like that age when it was out. And yeah, we weren't allowed to watch it, so I never really got to know Barney.
Yeah, it was just a thing that existed for me because I am slightly older than you, Miles, so having enough separation where nobody really cared about it. We knew it existed. We knew it was a thing. Like people I knew who had younger siblings, they might complain, "Oh yeah, I have to hear that stupid song all the time." But there was just sort of enough separation. But now we'll know the truth of Barney and the origins of Baby Bop. That's what I'm really curious about. All of this.
Oh yeah.
They left a lot of questions unanswered.
Right.
I fall into that same demographic as Miles and Bjorn, where it's like it was just out of my age range, where it was like, okay, this is a thing, and it's not for me, and that's cool. But I do like Daniel Kaluuya. I've loved his work in Get Out and Black Panther. So, and I'm just curious to see what it is the story he wants to tell with this.
Yeah.
But let's talk about a Stranger Things actor here for a minute, because the reason I popped this in is because I'm really excited to see the careers of all these actors post Stranger Things. So Joe Keery, everyone's favorite Steve Harrington, will soon be seen in the upcoming romantic heist drama Marmalade alongside Aldous Hodge and Camilla Morone. I already am looking forward to seeing where his career goes, because last year he co-starred in one of my favorite comedies, Free Guy, with Ryan Reynolds. And he was just absolutely delightful in that. And it was sort of good to see him break away from Stranger Things. David Harbour, of course, has done plenty of work before Stranger Things and since, some that we love and some, Hellboy, that we'd love to forget. But I'm excited to see where these people go once Stranger Things comes to an end. So, and just, I also love heists. So, hopefully
you like them in movies too.
I like them in movies too.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. You know, I also have a podcast on heists and the numerous crimes I've committed. I'm just kidding. Please don't arrest me.
This is all fiction. Yeah.
If there's a knock at the door, Ben, don't answer it. Just
Miles and Bjorn, I'm glad you're here for this bit of news since you were on the Lord of the Rings episode. A new Lord of the Rings Rings of Power trailer has dropped. It continues to just look cool. That's all I'm going to say to that. Has anyone else watched the new trailer yet?
I watched it, and I really liked Galadriel. Her line, like, "You have not seen what I've seen," and the guy's like, "Oh, I've seen," and she's like, "You have not seen what I've seen." I really like that, but I did have like pause about there was a line in there that said, "You've got to forget the past, and we have to move forward," and I was like, "Wait a minute, this was Tolkien?" Like we. That's kind of a weird thing to say. So that gave me a little bit of pause. We can't be too shiny. There's got to be grime, World War I, like dirt in this story. But we'll see.
Yeah, I saw it too, Miles. I had the exact same concern you did on that line of like, because it seemed so highlighted in it. Like, we must forget the past. I'm going, what do you mean by that? Yeah. Because there are like, I'm going, are you saying we need to forget the past as in those Hobbit movies that existed where they're going, hey, don't worry, guys, it'll be fine? Or are you going all the way back going, you must forget the past? I'm like, we liked those, and that was good. And yeah, I'm there's just part of me that worries that it was more meant kind of meta as opposed to in the narrative of what this show is going to be. Like, when I heard, I'm going, is that part of this show, or are you just saying that to the audience right now? Because now I'm worried.
That's funny. We both I just felt like, are they talking to the Tolkien love people? Like, this is let it go. We're just going to be something different. Like, I took it that way. Everything's about me. So I took it that way. What did you like about it, Ben? Like, what was looking cool?
Oh, I love the look of it. I love that Amazon, as much as I hate Amazon as a corporation, is clearly like Netflix, Stranger Things, is putting a lot of money into this to make it look as beautiful as possible. We expect a certain level of visual quality with Lord of the Rings at this point, because even now, and we talked about this before, 20 years later, there's still some of the best looking fantasy films that we've seen in 20 years. Nothing's peaked that yet. And I don't think this show will even peak that, but I think at least it's going to be, it has potential to become the best sort of traditional fantasy television series that we're going to get.
Yeah.
So, well, let's talk about Netflix now again for a second, because this should be interesting. So for a while, Netflix has talked about how they're going to introduce an ad-based tier for the subscription service that will be cheaper. Yeah. And it looks like they are teaming up with Microsoft to make that possible. And that has since sparked rumors that Microsoft intends to acquire Netflix, which that's just rumors. People love to start that kind of stuff up. That, on the one hand, that could potentially be not the ad-based service, but if Microsoft bought Netflix, that'd be great for me if they just threw that into Game Pass and I just had to stop paying $15 or $20 a month for Netflix and just had it all factored into my Game Pass subscription. That would be nice, because I would love to save $20 a month. On the other hand, it could be bad for everyone else who isn't in Microsoft's subscription service networks type of stuff. So I'll be curious to see how that goes. Does anyone else have any thoughts on that?
I think I'm not surprised that they're going to be offering an ad-based subscription. Everybody's doing it now. Like, I feel like we knew in a way it was coming, although it sucks. We want to stick with our original Netflix. That was like the whole point. You don't have any ads, you don't have any commercials, and here it comes.
Yeah. And it's the only reason it's tempting is just because Netflix is the most ridiculously expensive subscription service that doesn't come with any extra bells and whistles. Prime, you get all the other Amazon benefits. Netflix, you get Netflix. And I've been tempted for a while, once Stranger Things is over, to just pull the plug on Netflix because I'm running out of stuff to watch on it. I know there's plenty on there, but the original stuff that they've been putting on there hasn't been piquing my interest the way that HBO's stuff has been recently, or Disney Plus. So it's very interesting. I just sort of miss the all-in-one early days of Netflix, where Netflix literally just was the one that had everything, and then you had Hulu for a handful of things, and Hulu was free anyways.
Yep.
So it's something that comes up a lot on this show is, man, there's just too many streaming services.
Yeah.
Is that the truth?
They've definitely caught up to Netflix. That's the story of the last few years. So I think Microsoft is going to buy Netflix. That makes so much sense. Somebody is going to buy it because the golden era is over. We will look back on it fondly.
Well, in particular, more and more series have been dropping off of it because they're also, I don't think any Star Trek series are left on Netflix because they're all over on Paramount Plus right now.
Yep.
Everything that Disney owns, they're getting all that off there because they have their own. Why would they let Netflix have a piece of that money? So yeah, the idea of somebody buying it completely makes sense because somebody's got to do something with it to keep it relevant. Because saying that they've all caught up, I think most of them have actually surpassed it at this point.
Especially HBO. I mean,
hell yeah.
I have, like you were saying, Ben, I think I've started watching HBO much more than I watch Netflix now. They just have a lot of interesting content on there. So,
and we need the money to pour into Stranger Things 5. Let's just keep the money flowing. So if it's Microsoft, we can get 3 helicopters for 11 to pull down. So be it.
Bankroll that, and then we can walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the future of Netflix, we will see what happens. Even if I drop it for a year and then pick it back up to watch Stranger Things 5, we'll see. We'll just see. And I'm going to pull you out of the regular conversation here for just one moment. We recorded a little bit early to get the box office numbers for the weekend. So here I am with the box office update for the weekend of July 15th through 17th. In its second weekend in cinemas, Thor: Love and Thunder dropped 67.7% to bring in $46.6 million, bringing its total domestic gross up to $233.9 million. This is a similar trend to what we saw with Doctor Strange, which had a huge opening weekend and then dropped off very quickly. This just could be a pattern that Marvel's going to see with a lot of front-loaded weekends. Word of mouth for Thor has been middling, so that could explain a few things. People may also have picked up on the fact that these Marvel films have been dropping on Disney Plus not too long after their theatrical releases, so that could factor into it. We will see what happens later this year when Black Panther: Wakanda Forever opens in November, if it follows a similar pattern. Number 2 this week, in fact, holding at number 2, is Minions: The Rise of Gru, which dropped 41.8% to bring in $26.8 million, with a domestic total of $263.4 million. Minions holding up quite well. Opening this week at number 3, Where the Crawdads Sing, brought in $17.25 million. Dropping one place from number 3 to number 4 is Top Gun Maverick, which brought in $12.268 million, and a domestic total so far of $618.2 million. Top Gun has become Paramount Pictures' highest grossing domestic release of all time, and it's still essentially the number 1 film of the year, at least domestically, and I believe globally as well. Dropping one place from 4th to 5th is Elvis, which brought in just over $8 million, and it finally surpassed the $100 million mark domestically. So that's been a slow burn, but I think we can consider that financially successful at this point. Opening this week at number 6, Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank, an animated feature from Paramount and Nickelodeon Films, brought in $6.3 million. Low for an animated film, and that's felt like a trend this year with animated films that aren't Minions. Dropping one place from 6th to 7th is Scott Derrickson's The Black Phone, bringing in $5.37 million. Dropping 3 places from 5th to 8th is Jurassic World Dominion with $5.15 million. A domestic total so far of $359.91 million. So it's seeing some sharp declines, but it had a very good first 2 weekends. So it's not quite following the same pattern as the Marvel films. We're going to see how it matches up with those later on. Opening at number 9. Now, this film only opened in 980 theaters. That's Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. So it's $1.95 million. May seem low, but given that it opened in under 1,000 theaters, that's pretty good. And finally, at number 10 is Lightyear, which dropped 3 places from last week to 7th, bringing in only $1.4 million and a domestic total so far of $115.59 million. This is just, again, surprisingly low for an animated feature from Pixar Studios. But that is it for the box office update for the week. We'll see what direction Thor goes. If Top Gun maybe shoots back up to the top, as it has been doing every now and then. So you never know what's going to happen this summer. It's been a wild summer. But that is it for the box office update this week. And now let's get back to our regularly scheduled programming with Bjorn, Kathleen, and Miles. Thank you, everyone. So that's the news for the week. I'm going to move on here before we get into the big stuff. What have we been watching this last week? Well, I, of course, have wrapped up Miss Marvel. We'll talk about this on a later episode, but I'll basically say it is definitely a top 3 Marvel Disney Plus show. And we've talked about this a lot, Miles, on Moon Knight. It probably has the most solid ending of a Marvel show on Disney Plus. So
I have not seen it yet.
It's a good
I'm
one.
excited now.
It's our next show now.
I also caught Thor, Love and Thunder, of course, in the movie theater because it was the big thing to see. Again, that's for a future episode. I'll just say it's Marvel. It's fun. There's stuff about it I didn't like, but that's for another episode. And finally, I dipped back into one of my all-time favorite classics, Alfred Hitchcock's North by Northwest. And that's partly because that is my background sound to memorizing lines when I'm in a play, which I am doing right now. So it just, I don't know why that movie just works. There's a pattern to it that is great for me for memorizing lines. So that's what I've been watching. Bjorn, have you been watching anything that's not Stranger Things this week?
I have not watched a damn thing this week because I was in the process of getting ready to open a production of Henry V, which opened last night, which meant I was up very late afterwards celebrating a show we have been waiting 2 years to open, thanks to Gestures at the World. And so maybe this week I can actually watch anything. But yeah, if anything's been on, I've been like going on like Drag Race in the background just to have, some noise, which, I mean, I always love Drag Race, but yeah, outside of that, it's been like, nope, I've been reviewing my monologues because we have an audience on Saturday.
And congratulations for finally getting that show open. I'm so glad to see that Shakespeare Northwest is back.
Yeah, with our own permanent stage that we own now that is level.
Nice.
Just a quick little story. I remember doing Two Gentlemen of Verona with Miles out there in the field before there was a stage, and I particularly remember we had to be very careful to watch out for fragments from glass bottles or just all kinds of rubbish that had been left out there before it all got cleaned out. And it's such a beautiful space.
Yeah,
that
was fun. I forgot about that. It was really a cleanup.
Oh, I remember when the cleanup was happening. I was up there a few times myself trying to help get all that junk out of there.
Mhm.
It is a really beautiful space. I didn't see, I saw it post junk.
Yeah.
It has definitely gotten lovelier as it's being improved on little by little, more and more, and just trying to turn it into an actual investment. And like I said, permanent stage. Hard to believe considering where we were 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, Miles, have you been watching anything that is not Stranger Things this week?
Well, we watched The Northman finally. That was awesome. I really liked
Pretty
it.
good.
I was really loving the visuals and all the performances and just the weirdness of it. It was really cool.
Weird in a way that worked really well.
Yeah. It was proper for the 870s or the 890s, you know. The 820s are gone. We're in the weird 890s now, so it was awesome.
I know that is your favorite era.
That's my favorite era. That specific slice, yeah. And I was like talking about, oh, Kathleen, this seems like, this is like Hamlet, and it's like literally the inspiration for Hamlet. I was like, oh,
that's
Hamlet.
Right. Yeah, it's which has an even weirder plot if you've
I know that. Shakespeare actually like made this less weird.
It.
You got to be kidding me. Yeah. And yeah, I've not really been watching any other thing. We're doing the Stranger Things rewatch, the podcast. So Kathleen and I have been watching a lot of Stranger Things again. Yeah, and the British Open at St. Andrews. I've been watching golf. Kathleen?
Yes, Miles has been watching golf.
That's an important differentiation right there.
Yeah. I have been, well, actually, I watched Dirty Daddy, the Bob Saget tribute, and sobbed through most of it. It was very, very sad, but very funny. Like, I loved how loose it was. I don't know if any of you have seen it. But I grew up with Full House. That was my show growing up. So I have a lot of nostalgia there. So watching that, seeing somebody that was beloved from my childhood, a wonderful tribute to him. And then of course I started watching Full House again, a little bit different than all the things that you guys are watching. I go for a little bit more wholesome, I suppose.
Does that mean you finished the nanny?
I was just about to ask.
I'm in the last season, but it's a little slow going. I don't know. It doesn't have the magic it had in the beginning. Good old nanny.
What does? I mean.
Well, that is what we've been watching this week. It is time to finally talk about the last 2 episodes of Stranger Things. For 7 episodes, left us on a cliffhanger, gave us about a month, and it finally dropped. My first question I'm actually going to ask, I didn't write this down, but I watched it all in one sitting. Did everyone else watch it in one sitting, or did you manage to break it up?
2 nights.
Oh.
We did one.
You have great self-control, Bjorn.
Oh no, it was not self-control. That was called getting home from rehearsal at about 11:30 at night, watching the 90-minute one and going, yeah, we can't power through. And then we actually, the second episode, didn't get to watch it as soon as we wanted to. I had sort of a family emergency come up that was just, and it's evening out a bit, but just the timing of it, I'm going, I know this is going to hurt. I can't watch something like that right now. And then a couple little things started getting spoiled. It was just, okay, got to pull the trigger now. Got to watch it. And so stayed up till 2 a.m. one night watching the last one, and worth it. I didn't get to sleep till about 3:30 afterwards because I was just wired, just wanting to discuss it and think back to just little moments we had seen in the first 3 seasons of like how everything was connected.
Yeah.
Well, I can empathize with that sense of I have to watch it now because spoilers. Because in this day and age, even like Netflix's own social media pages are terrible at keeping
Yeah.
secrets.
Yes, they are. Why, aren't you trying to make money here? Aren't you trying to get watchers? Because you're kind of spoiling the show.
Yeah, the etiquette of like wait the opening weekend is gone. It's like I've seen it, so I'm posting. Like it's crazy out there on the internet.
Get at least a week, y'all. Just give people a week.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a reason that we have private chats for, this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Miles and I watched it as soon as we possibly could.
Well, we didn't wake up at 3 a.m. like some people.
No, that's true. We wanted to enjoy the experience also as much as possible. So we made sure to get a good night's sleep the night before. And then we're ready to go. I mean, I woke up really early. I had to wait a little bit.
That was probably also a good choice, considering that Netflix basically crashed at midnight.
Oh, yeah.
When it
That's
dropped.
what I heard.
So I also waited at least a day, and I'm glad I wasn't there at midnight just, yelling at the TV to work.
Oh my gosh.
Play the thing.
You got to just
Stranger
That
Things.
had been painful.
Yes.
So let's talk about these episodes. Chapter 8, Papa, written by the Duffer Brothers and Caitlin Schneiderhan and directed by the Duffer Brothers. IMDb score of 8.7. And once again, critics are not chiming in that much on individual episodes on Rotten Tomatoes. This does not have a Rotten Tomatoes score. So, the sort of prelude to the finale. Whew, okay. I'm trying to think back because it's been a while since I saw it. We get to see 11 taking out a helicopter, which was incredible.
Yeah.
We got to see that reunion, which was great. We got to see Joyce and Hopper.
Yep.
Making out. Yep.
We finally got the kiss.
Yeah. I love Joyce and Hopper's moment. I love that we didn't get it at the end of episode 7. There was so much going on. It was exhausting to watch 9 hours anyway.
Yeah.
For it to come kind of get us back into it at the beginning of volume 2 was really cool. And I love how they kind of mentally went on their date first. They're like, we're going to get appetizers. You're thinking about appetizers? We're going to get an entree. Not sure we're going to order for. They kind of walked through it until they kissed. It was really good dialogue and, of course, great actors.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, Brenner.
And
yes.
Brenner. Gosh, true Brenner fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Very true to his character throughout Stranger Things,
I
think.
Yeah, he people saying the weakest redemption arc of all time. It meant in a good way. He takes off the collar of 11, the collar he had just put on her. So let's not give him too much credit. But I loved that scene where, Brenner says, say that you understand, and 11 doesn't. And the music during that scene is fantastic, going from the 11, dirt analog theme to a full Force theme. No, 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 no. It's well, it feels like the Force theme to me. I was crying. It was amazing. It was all about 11 and not about Brenner, which I felt like was right. The actual death.
Yeah, episode 8 was great to me. It was because it was a lot of our people coming together, having that
finally
moment of I'm not going to quite call it victory because we knew the worst was yet to come. But I was really worried after the first half that episode 8 was just going to feel like nothing but complete filler. So I'm like, okay, we're going to have to have our group, Mike and 11 reuniting. Joyce and Hopper are just finding each other. Our folks in Hawkins have to make their plan of whatever they're going to do about Vecna. And I was going, is this just going to be an hour and a half long setup for the finale? And while it kind of was, it was actually in an interesting and a rewarding way. We got to see moments that had some actual value to them.
Yeah, agreed. I thought it was an excellent episode. I liked it more than the final episode. I don't know. I like the feeler stuff. So finally, Joyce and Hopper coming together. I loved that. I loved Elle finding herself and being true to herself and not going back to her days with Dr. Brenner, like being stronger, a stronger person. Her reuniting with everybody. That was my jam.
The Mike and Will scene as well in the van was a huge highlight. I loved both their sides of that Mike kind of turned in what was one of the most frustrating plot points of me, which was he won't say I love you. He turned his revelation there that he says it because he feels completely inadequate. Like maybe 11 is Superman and I'm just the first person to be nice to Superman. That felt really real to me. It kind of changed my opinion on that storyline. And then Will, of course, was just a wonderful little piece where he talks through Elle to Mike, who is completely oblivious. But that was really great.
Amazing.
And Jonathan looking through the mirror, that whole scene in the van was fantastic.
I was just going to say, like, all the facial reactions on Jonathan, I'm going, that might be his best acting of the whole series, and not saying a damn word.
And
totally
I think that's the best acting that Will Byers' character has done as well. I thought it was truly amazing the way he portrayed his emotions, the turning and hiding his like crying. Oh gosh, it just gets you in the heartstrings.
It was nice to see him do some subtlety acting, because people always praise, Ben and Bjorn. I'm glad you guys are here, but people always say, like, wow, Noah Schnapp is an amazing actor for being inhabited by the Mind Flayer and screaming and stuff like that. That's kind of the easier stuff. Like,
agreed.
That's the easier, but to turn to the window and make that compelling, that is much more difficult. And he gets to flex that a little bit here.
Yeah.
Oh,
boy, does he flex.
Yeah, and this is the Nancy episode too, by the way. Absolutely badass. She stares Vecna like face down, and then she stares Jason face to face. And she's the one who drives the whole plan.
Yeah.
Nancy was badass.
Do not mess with Nancy.
She is. Yeah. I see all those memes of like, people holding these huge guns, and it's like, that's Nancy. She's
always had that badass in her. Like, you go all the way back to season 1. She was strong. Yeah. You could tell she had a fierceness to her. Like when there was the whole, Steve, the misunderstanding like on the marquee, when Steve learned what the truth was, he was one telling them to take that down. Mm-hmm. While we saw her both be hurt, we also saw just a fierceness and a focus in her early on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, she pulls the gun on Steve and says, "Get the hell out of the house."
Yep.
Yeah.
And her, I think it's season 3 when Billy is driving at her and Nancy's just standing there. She was going to fire that gun to her death, with a car coming straight at her. So yeah, Nancy is one of the badasses of Stranger Things. Has always been there. I just felt like it was really highlighted in this episode and the next episode, to be honest.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep.
Nancy.
Nancy.
So for all that, she still needs to figure her crap out with her boys. Come on, just figure it out.
That's true.
Figure it out. Have a conversation.
Yeah.
Let's get this over with.
Yeah.
I was so glad that we didn't lose her to Vecna, that I know she came right out of it, and we got to see her in action through that whole episode.
Yes.
Is this the episode where Steve tells her about his future, the 6 kids and all that stuff?
Yeah.
That was ringing some alarm.
Her, yeah.
Okay, but that was ringing some alarm bells for me as far as Steve is in danger.
I'm just 3 days away from retirement.
Yeah.
But I have to say is, because I want to, I think in this episode we heard that bit from Steve. Wasn't this also the one with some of the Vecna planning where we heard Eddie talking about how he's no hero as well?
Mm-hmm.
I felt like episode 8, again, I'm thinking back, I'm trying to remember, but I felt like there were multiple characters where I'm going, okay, you have numerous people who literally gave the "I'm 3 days away from retirement" speech, which I both loved and hated. Like I loved him going, I have no idea who's safe right now because so many of you have given me reason why you can die just from narrative tropes as we know them. But I hated it because all of a sudden I'm going like, I'm now worried for everyone and I can't have anything bad happen to any of them because I love them.
I know.
But yeah, that was great because my concern was that there was just gonna be one character who gave the big old thing and I'd be like, okay, we know who's biting it. Cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Could have been anyone.
I was afraid. Yep, I was afraid of losing anybody. Although I was least surprised by, Eddie. But that's next episode.
Still not okay.
They really do emphasize they purposefully emphasize him saying, "I'm no hero." Like it just kind of prepares you for the inevitable.
Never change, Dustin Henderson.
I will say I do not agree with the way that he was written in that sense of, I don't think the world needs to see him as not a hero. He's always been a hero in this show.
Oh,
I think he's way too hard on himself.
Oh,
bringing in his little sheep, making people feel accepted. Yeah.
Eddie Munson, I have never, on a personal level, I've never related to a character so much in my life. Like, I have numerous friends who are like, you watch Stranger Things, right? Yeah. They go, so Eddie's basically you. Because they're like the metal, the D&D. He's always hard on himself. Like, I'll admit, that's me too. But then looking out for others, trying to bring people into whatever nerdy like obsession. Yeah, I'm like, I completely resonate with this guy. This is awesome. Right down to the yelling, this is music.
This is music.
Which I loved that it was an Iron Maiden album because of their mascot Eddie. And honestly, that was the moment I knew he was not going to make it out because I'm going, that's Iron Maiden. Their mascot is named Eddie and Eddie is dead. And I think that was the tip of the cap of his fate. But that maybe be looking way too much into it. It may have literally just been Iron Maiden because its mascot's Eddie.
I don't know a lot about Iron Maiden. Okay, so what is this mascot, Eddie?
So on the cover of, I don't know if it's all their albums, but at least most of them, there is this zombie on there, and that is literally the mascot of the band, and his name is Eddie, and that's always been Iron Maiden. Yeah. And so, but okay. Zombies are dead, and because it was named Eddie, I'm going. I think that was a tip to his fate specifically.
Does that mean Eddie's coming back as a zombie?
Don't even. There have been people who have put that in the universe, and that's been my concern.
No, it was just a joke. Universe, it was just a joke.
My theory on this: 12 to 14 demo bats have eaten a piece of Eddie. They all slowly turn into a piece of Eddie, and they blob together, and he forms up, and we're back.
Eddie the vampire.
Eddie the vampire.
Oh my gosh.
Is that anything like Boris the Spider?
It can be. Duffer Brothers, call me.
Miles is your new idea, man.
Oh boy.
Oh golly.
As much as I would love for Eddie to come back, that I just think that takes away the impact. It's just, it resonates so much. Let's move on to the final episode because we're clearly eager to talk about it. Chapter 9. The Piggyback, written and directed by the Duffer Brothers, IMDb score of 9.1. Somehow, enough critics have chimed in to give this one a Rotten Tomatoes score of 86%. Woo! Nearly 2.5 hours of.
Man.
I mean, it was basically a movie.
Yes,
it was.
Like,
it was very long. Yeah.
We could have gone to a cinema and sat down just for this episode.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish that Netflix had done that for like a week, give audiences the chance to see what this experience is like on a massive screen, because they clearly put the budget and the love into it.
I wonder if that's something, I know you can have theaters you can request specific movies. Can you request to watch an episode of Stranger Things on the big screen?
I would be shocked. I'd be shocked if you couldn't. I mean, there have been movie theaters.
Yeah.
They show they'll show football games. They'll show pay-per-view wrestling events. the D&D web show Critical Role, when their third campaign started, there were movie theaters that were showing the first episode of that. So they show all sorts of stuff. I can't imagine. Netflix
I know
episode be off the
I'd
list.
watch it for sure.
Yeah,
on the
you and
big
everybody
screen.
else.
I know Netflix is more readily available globally than Disney Plus, but like Disney Plus, for some of their shows that they've actually been showing them in cinemas in countries where Disney Plus isn't available. So
Oh.
I wonder if Netflix would consider doing the same thing in areas where its service isn't available.
Yeah,
'Cause
that'd be really cool.
So where to start on this movie is like really tough. Like, I think one of the things that Kathleen and I talked about like right after is although everyone else wanted the reunions, I know we all wanted everybody in Hawkins for the whole time. I actually liked that Hopper, Joyce, and Murray had to help from Russia, and that the California group had to help from Nevada, and Piggyback into Max's mind. It made the world remain big.
Yes.
I just didn't want the
Yeah.
teleportation problems that Game of Thrones had, where Hopper's somehow back from Russia at the key time, because it's all the same night, right? It's all either one day later or, I mean, how long do they have this person's motorhome that they stole, by the way? Horrifying. Where did those people sleep?
See, I don't know. That's why Stranger Things is so good to me, because they are always like conscious of reality and keep things realistic. I mean, this is like a sci-fi show, but like realistically done. Like you said, Joyce and Hopper don't suddenly get back into Hawkins, Indiana. I don't know. It's easier to think of it as real life, to immerse yourself more into it.
And I liked hanging out at the pizza place with Argyle and Jonathan and Will. Like, we talked about the Mike and Will scene, then the Jonathan and Will scene
So good.
was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another place where I cried. And just Will's face, just how relieved he was to hear Jonathan say, like, basically, when you're ready, talk to me. It was fantastic.
Again, to me, Noah's best acting throughout all of Stranger Things was in these 2 episodes specifically. He was amazing. I mean, we're so used to seeing these all-star actors like Millie Bobby Brown. She's obviously an all-star. I mean, she's been in a lot of big stuff since. But it was so great to see him shine. I don't know. You just love him that much more.
The kids get it. Lucas gets a chance to shine too.
Oh my gosh,
Caleb
Lucas!
McLaughlin.
Also, one of my most emotional scenes is with Lucas in this final episode holding Max. Oh my gosh, that scene was so hard to watch. Talk about waterworks. Oh,
Max's whole story here. I mean, I think we should talk about that. Like, did we think that they were really going to do it? Like, when the first arm popped, I was like, she's going to be in a sling now. And then the leg pops, like, oh, no.
Oh, horrified.
I was absolutely blindsided by this. Just horrified at the prospect of having a whole other season of Stranger Things that maybe won't have her in it. Like, it just... Like, she can't die. We cannot lose her. She's an amazing, character in Stranger Things. Like, it would be to the detriment of Stranger Things to lose her.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen in season 5.
Yeah, because they cut it as close as they possibly could to killing her without stepping over that line. Like,
oh my gosh.
You want to have that Return of the King moment where they get to the hospital and she just, wakes up and waves at them. And it's like, nope, we're not getting that this time. May have to, she may be spending her physical form, may be spending all of season 5 in a hospital bed. And that's going to be so rough.
You're gonna get some mind palace stuff. Go ahead, Kathleen.
We have her so like stoically sure that her life is gonna end. Like, this is the end for me. My life has never gone well. And then that scene as her like screaming out, like the child in her, like, I'm not ready to die. I don't want to die. So you've always seen Max as a very strong character, and that it just made that moment that much harder.
the fact, so they brought her, 11 quote unquote brings her back. We don't know exactly the nature of that, but had she just died playing through and it's over, those are some of the most horrifying last words. Like Max saying, I'm not ready to go. I'm not ready to die, after spending the whole season, in this deep grief, this really rich, I love the whole conversation between her and Vecna about, you grieve not just because you miss your brother, but because you wanted him to die and because you also want to die. Like there is so much richness and depth there. The whole Max plot. Max is one of my favorite characters. She's way cooler than I've ever been, but I see her kind of as like my experience, because I came to a new school at the exact same age she did, trying to make friends. And my older brother was stabbed with a tentacle through when I was at a mall. And I'm kidding about that.
It wasn't a tentacle, it was a harpoon.
Yeah. And her scene with Lucas, going back to Lucas, where they make a date. I didn't know which one of them was going to die, but I was like, uh-oh, because they do the flashcard thing, which I thought was really well acted.
Yeah, it's actually a great sort of mirror to what Joyce and Hopper did in the previous episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lucas just brought something different to the role. It was nice to get the other kids a chance to shine. His like disappointment in Jason, as Jason comes in there and is like, I'm going to kill you. And Lucas is just like, you're not listening. Like, what is wrong with you? Gather the data and make stuff. You've made up your mind this whole time. I thought I wanted to be like you, but you're an idiot. You're a psychopath.
Yeah. Emphasized after this whole season of seeing him wanting to be popular, wanting to be in the crowd that Jason is in. Yeah.
Like, you know what, Jason, you're kind of dumb, and Lucas, there's some sadness in it too. Like I've been wrong about this. I've made a mistake.
Well, I mean, and by the end of the season, we saw that Jason really was torn apart by this whole Chrissy thing.
Oh,
yes. Oh.
Nicely done. Oh my gosh.
That was such a great death. Like just a side note death.
I know. And I felt like justified that he became just a side note. Like he's dead now. Move on.
But also because that was right when the fissure was opening, I couldn't feel like any sort of like vindication or anything for it. Because I remember my reaction just being like, holy crap, what is happening?
Just melted through his body and the whole town is splitting.
Yep.
Yeah. Agreed.
I also won't miss him though. That's fine.
No, absolutely not.
No,
I'm glad that he
miss
went
him.
out the way he did.
It's
Thank
fine.
goodness. No more of Jason.
His impact is going to linger on to season 5 in the church. He's going to be the martyr. In the church, they've got the sign up that says his words. There's good in this room or whatever. Like I'm like, uh-oh.
It does worry me that I feel like in season 5 we're gonna see the town mobbing against these kids, and that is a scary prospect. I mean, they're just children, but like hysteria is going to hit. We haven't seen it yet because we're like just after the catastrophe of the town being split apart. It's coming. Coming.
We haven't talked about Vecna creating the mind flare yet.
Oh my god. There's so much in this episode.
What did you guys think of that? I'd be interested to hear what you thought about the twist, because Dustin had said Vecna was the mind flare's 5-star general. Turns out maybe the other way around.
I was thrilled with that because Vecna is so much more interesting than the mind flayer. I was like, finally, a true villain for this show, and not just an admittedly very cool Lovecraft beast.
Yeah. I think the ancient evil may have another story for Vecna, though. I feel like there's something there we're not seeing. I wanted the mind flayer to be the big bad, but from a storytelling perspective, I can see that Vecna is much more interesting. as far as like compelling. And there's a line where Vecna says, "And then I discovered something extraordinary." So to say he created the Mind Flayer maybe isn't even quite true. There's a lot more to dive into there. And unlike previous seasons, I feel set up for what to expect in season 5, whereas the other seasons, it just ended like a movie and it was over. And it's up to the next season to create their own problem.
Yeah, Ben, I actually felt opposite of you and Bjorn here. I was disappointed. I mean, I think it's very interesting, and you know, they told that story well, but I did hope that the Upside Down was something bigger and in and of itself. And I was disappointed to see the scenes of the Upside Down, and it was brighter. It wasn't as dark and evil looking. But on the other hand, like, who's to say we aren't going to see that separation in season 5, that it is in fact its own evil? And who's to say that it doesn't look brighter because that's how Vecna sees it? Like, this is his world. And he's been able to use it to carry on his mission of killing people.
It reminded me of one of my favorite old school video games, SNES, A Link to the Past, where when you go into the dark world, you end up finding out that because Ganondorf was the one who got there, that he corrupted it into this evil darkness that it became. But if someone who was of pure heart were to get there, they could make it into something more benevolent. And so I'm kind of going like, oh, so maybe it did have this brightness. That's where it started, as sort of this nucleus, let there be light sort of genesis. And then because of who Vecna Henry was, he made it into that darkness. I'm going, will we eventually see this where once he is completely taken out, whatever that entity, the Mind Flayer as we know it is, if that were reached by somebody who was more good at heart, will we see something
like
different
11
from the Upside Down?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, that kind of blew my mind a little bit, because if it is like what you create of it, like 11 is all goodness. I've felt that since season 1, that like, if she's there, what will the Upside Down look like?
Yeah.
Dang.
The whole backstory that we have so far is from Vecna's perspective. He speechifies for about 30 minutes while everyone is choking on vines and stuff. I was talking to Kathleen. It's all in like Max's mind, so the timeline is fine. But Steve and Robin and Nancy are choking on those vines for 30 solid minutes.
What seems like 30 solid minutes?
No. No,
what I mean is like
it's 30 minutes.
What I mean is, because it's all in their mind.
Oh, yeah.
To us, it seems like 30 minutes, which could be like a blip in the real world.
Okay. But I, as a person watching, had to know that Steve and Nancy and Robin are being choked by vines for 30 true minutes. FYI.
That was very upsetting for you. You did bring it up several times.
I guess it was much better on rewatch for me. But the initial watch, I was like, is Hopper dead? Like, that Demodog's been on top of him for so long.
I conversely really enjoyed that we had a villain monologuing for 30 damn minutes, because this goes right back to my Dungeons Dragons nerdery. Every big, bad, evil guy has to give their big monologue. And I like that there was, it actually reminded me of a game I ran where I'm like, I love that there was a framework built around it, why no one could just punch Vecna in the face and make him stop talking. Because I knew my players, if my big, bad, evil guy were to start monologuing, I knew it'd be hands on sight. So I literally had to set up a situation where they were forced to listen to him as they were riding this lift up into his sanctum. And afterwards they all went, you just did that so we couldn't shut him up. I'm like, yes. I literally had like a 5-minute monologue this guy needed to give. So it's my turn to talk. You listen. So I felt that true D&D big bad evil guy goodness, where I'm like, oh, no, this is the part where none of the players, you can't do anything. The DM is talking right now. So just shut up and listen. I was just, yes.
Oh, that's funny.
I now can't get away from the Legend of Zelda comparison you've made, and now it's got me thinking. In most of the Zelda games, Princess Zelda traps Ganondorf in the Dark Realm, and that is what happens with Vecna. So, do we have a Princess Zelda in this Stranger Things series? And that gets me wondering, okay, so which one's Link? Because
Well, I mean, Will Byers currently has a link to the Upside Down.
It's gonna be
But-
Will's gonna be big.
But
Yeah.
also Mike. Well, I don't know. I think we're gonna see a lot more action from Will in season 5 because he hasn't really had much to do. I mean, Mike's always been the hero. Will's always been the victim. So we may see that turn around. But then again, Will portrays Mike as the hero in the painting. So
He's one on the front line. He's the paladin.
I was just left with so many questions after this part 2. Like, I have no idea what's going to happen in season 5. I've been less sure of anything. I mean, in the end of this season than any other Stranger Things.
Well, we know there'll be the musical episode is last season where they can get that in.
Yeah.
Musical episode. Oh my god. What upside down? I turn your heart right side up. All right.
Duffers call Miles. It's got it.
Yeah, like I said, and I'm a very affordable.
Okay, and we've got it recorded here. Miles came up with that.
Yep.
The running up the hill comes back in at the climax of all of this, where they throw the Molotov cocktails at Vecna, and Hopper decapitates a Demogorgon
With
That
a
was
Conan
really-
sword.
Yeah, I know. I saw so many people on the internet posting like, "What? There's just a random sword lying there." Like, no, we did see the sword in chapter 7. One of the people has it, and he's eaten by a demodog. Don't post before you. But that's me
Chekhov's
complaining.
Conan.
So Vecna obviously is not dead. Will explicitly states that, but he now like has no physical form, or like, wow, I'm just kind of interested what that's going to be. I remember Bjorn, you had mentioned before, like in Dungeons and Dragons, that is kind of what happens, right? He like leaves a hand and an eye behind, or something like that.
His hand was cut off and his eye gouged out, and then he was killed. But since he's an arch lich, a lich reforms by the phylactery, which basically that's an item that contains a lich's soul. So I would not be surprised if they're going, to ultimately destroy Vecna, we have to find his phylactery, which my guess is it's going to be the house, where there's gonna be something in there, or the remains of it itself are gonna have to be destroyed. Is gonna be like that's gonna be what his ultimate link is in all of this. Whatever it is, I cannot wait. Again, Vecna / Henry, such a great villain, so compelling. Just like give me more, inject it straight the hell into my veins. Just hurry up. They said, I know it's not gonna be this year. Just get it done.
Yeah. Get it done.
I have to say, it's so much more beneficial to talk to somebody who knows a lot about Dungeons and Dragons and who can explain Vecna a lot more. Because, we don't know a lot about it. It just adds way more to the story knowing that. So thank you, Bjorn.
You're welcome. My other little D&D thing that I got very excited about in Will's painting, they see that they're fighting against this multi-headed dragon. In D&D lore, there is a 5-headed dragon, the Dragon Queen Tiamat, where I'm going, is the big bad of this whole thing going to be Tiamat? Because D&D has been a theme in this. They've been in some things we've considered some dungeons, but we have not seen a dragon. Give me a dragon.
Dema-Dragon is
Dema-Dragon.
Season 5.
I love dragons. Dragons are awesome. I think that's the whole reason people actually liked Game of Thrones. It had dragons. I think there were other things that happened. I just knew there were dragons, and so that's all my knowledge of that series. Dragons, right? Cool. But yeah, if we get a multi-headed evil dragon out of the Upside Down, I will not be upset at all. I'm sure there are some people that if all of a sudden a dragon shows up, they're going to go, really? And that's going to break their immersion. But
You'll be into
No.
yeah, like whatever.
I
suck
mean,
it.
dragons, like, I think it'd be
Dragons are always the
cool.
right answer.
Yeah.
Well, I think that they are, because actually throughout history in real life, dragons appear in so many different cultures.
Correct.
So it makes sense for them to be in stories like this. I don't know. I think we need a dragon now.
So, and going back to what we're watching, like that's the same reason I can't watch golf like Miles does. No dragons.
That's the one caveat. So if they had a dragon, you'd be into it.
Tell me you wouldn't.
All right. Fair
The
enough.
dragon hazard.
Yeah. Oh, that's
No,
better.
but I can see Miles on the mini golf courses with all the dragons and weird stuff they've got there.
Yeah.
Okay, now mini golf rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's bring a Stranger Things mini golf course.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Be pretty.
You heard it here
interesting.
first, Netflix. We you know. I love the D&D lore that's going on here. Meanwhile, I'm over here in my corner and I'm like, oh, Hopper's got a flamethrower. This is clearly a reference to both
yeah.
Alien and The Thing, and I'm loving
Mhm.
that. And I love how when they knock Vecna out of the house, it's a deliberate homage to Halloween. It's like, oh, they knocked him out of the window,
yes.
and then they look and he's gone.
Nobody.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
definitely alive.
My wife and I, that was the very first thing we talked about. I'm sorry, second thing we talked about. We'll get to the other thing, I think, in a minute here. But we're going, that was clearly just straight up. Yeah, you've seen Halloween.
Yeah.
Which is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. So that just made me so happy.
Gosh, the reason Halloween is such a great horror story is because of the mystery of it. You don't actually see much of what happens. It's the absence of what you see, which makes it so cool.
Can we talk about the best scene in the entirety of all of Stranger Things? Please.
Jump into it. Jump into it.
Oh my. So
We aren't just
one
like
of the
plays.
one of the little things that got spoiled for me is what song Eddie was playing. I am a just rampant Metallica fan. So when people found, like, everyone I knew who had seen it beforehand, they're like, he's gonna lose his goddamn mind. And even though I knew he was about to start playing Master of Puppets, I was not ready for just how epic that was. This hellscape. It's 1986. He's on top of a trailer. He's wearing a leather biker jacket with his denim cut with all its patches on it. He's playing a BC Rich warlock. Nice touch, Duffers, by the way, that he's playing a warlock, which is a D&D class. There's no way that was an accident because it was a BC Rich. It was not a mockingbird. It was not a BC Rich bitch. It was specifically a warlock. The slightly different finish on the guitar and the upside down where it had like that red lightning crackle. It was really hard to see the way it was lit. Yeah, the way it's lit, it still looks like it's a black finish. But if you find some close-ups of it, it's black with this red lightning crackle, just like the lightning that's happening behind him, which is why Eddie said, oh, it's almost like she was meant for this. And Joseph Quinn, props for learning how to actually play the song. As someone who knows how to play that song, I was going, oh, he's actually playing it. Like,
so he really was playing it.
Yep,
Okay.
he played
that's awesome.
Yeah, he played everything but the solo, which they brought in a professional guitarist for the close-up hands on it. But for the riffs, no, he played it. The Duffers asked him if he knew how to play guitar, and he said he's like, yeah, I used to. And so they told him what song it was. He bought a guitar, got an amp, and just started working on the songs. He's going, oh, I want to play it correctly. The version of it played, obviously, like, Miles, you've talked about for a lot of the songs we've seen. It's not the album version. They changed it up a little bit. The current bassist of Metallica, Robert Trujillo, his son Ty actually recorded some new guitar tracks for it. He's in there in the credits. And this has finally been my place to put my money where my mouth is when younger folks discover a thing I'm into because of pop culture. So I always roll my eyes when the gatekeepers come out. And I have to say, I friggin' love it. When I heard, oh yeah, Master of Puppets has shot up on Spotify, I'm going, awesome. I'm thrilled. I can't wait. I've even busted out my guitar and started just re-practicing it again. I'm going, I haven't really tried to play stuff off that album in a long time. But what a perfect song. Eddie's tattoos. He also has, one of them is like marionette puppet strings, and another one, it's a bunch of bats flying on it. So kind of a nod to what his fate would be. And very cool how that song in itself being used in multiple ways, where, okay, Vecna is kind of being a puppet master of Max inside her head and everything, but also our group who is infiltrating the Upside Down, try and get to Vecna, that Eddie and Dustin were literally manipulating and distracting Vecna to get the demo bats away, like just all the various levels on that. I'm going, this is just the perfect friggin' song for it. And
so obvious in retrospect. I mean, the master of puppets, and like, I mean, he's really mastering the whole thing, right? The Mind Flayer is his puppet, you know, so are all the bats and so are all the dogs. It's pretty crazy. I'm just amazed that we saw somebody playing the guitar in the Upside Down in the original trailer, and they got us to a point where it made sense.
Right? Like I remember seeing it, and all I thought was, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I don't know why that's there, but I'm gonna love this scene.
Can we talk about the solo? Because Miles and I have talked about this so much about, like, Miles goes, classic guitarist, you know, he's like, the Demobats are about to get them. And he says, hold on, I have to finish this solo.
T minus 20 seconds. He's like, okay, I got a 19-second solo to do though.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Oh, we were laughing about that. Like, as we were watching it, it was just so epic and awesome, and just funny that he's like literally running out of time, but he's got to finish this solo, which is the most important part.
It was so cool.
And just how pumped we all were during that.
Yeah.
And, you know, Eddie and Dustin are hopping around in there about most metal thing ever. And then it starts to turn as the demo bats start creeping their way into that trailer, and they plug up the one. It's like, wait, is that the only vent there? And when we see Eddie help Dustin out, and then we all knew it was going to happen at the same moment when Eddie turns his head. I got choked up instantly. So I was like, please, Eddie Munson, don't do this. But it also, if he hadn't done that, the bats would have gone back to the house. Yeah, they would have devoured the rest of our heroes. So his sacrifice did mean something.
Yeah, at first watch, like, Dustin is so don't do this, that I was kind of like, maybe he didn't have to do it. But you're right, Bjorn. Dustin is dead if he doesn't do that.
Yep.
Because it's not like the bats can't go into the right side up trailer. Like, they'll be fine. They'll go right in there and kill Dustin as well. Oh yeah. So yeah, it's really powerful. He's riding his bike. He buys some more time for Steve, Robin, and Nancy to choke on the vines. And Ben, you made a comment earlier that really like resonated with me, which is that, does he have to be the hero? Like, no, but I think that when he sees Chrissy snap and he leaves her there, that he's carrying that with him so much. He really died right there, because the workings in him to sacrifice himself began there. Like, he's like, no, I've got to make up for that. I've got to make up that I left Chrissy sitting in that mobile home with Vecna having her bones snapped and her eyes popped off, even though it doesn't make sense to us. And it doesn't make sense to Dustin. I mean, because Eddie's saying, like, you know, I was a hero, right? I was a hero. And Dustin's like, yeah, but we would rather have you here, man. It's so, oh God, it just crushed me, Eddie's death.
And then talking about just the gravity of it, right before playing, Eddie says, "This is for you, Chrissy." The fact that he has always been thinking about that, it was never lost on him. And he was talking about, like, oh, you know, I ran away. And us as the viewers were going, well, Eddie, what in the blue hell do you think happens if you don't run away? You stay there, the cops show up, and they arrest you. They arrest you and they blame you for it, because they're not going to believe your story of this is what happened. And I, you know, the Duffers have talked about it, where they're saying, look, Eddie was always going to be a tragic character, was always going to have a tragic end. So they flat out said, hey, if he doesn't die from the demo bats and the upside down, what do you think happens to him? If he comes back to Hawkins, he's a wanted man. People are not going to just believe all the supernatural stuff. His life's over. He was never going to walk at graduation. Like his whole thing in the first episode, this is my year. That was the I'm 3 days from retirement speech of this whole thing. And we didn't realize it at the time. We were just being introduced to this very charismatic character we quickly fell in love with. And that was sort of the piece where we were told, here's the guy who's going to die.
It's sad that he ends up with a similar fate as Billy, where Max says, like, I can't even tell anybody what you did. Like, nobody's going to believe that he was the hero in this situation. He's always going to be the villain. And people who, like, obviously aren't aware of the supernatural the way these kids are, they have to have a villain. And he fits that bill, which is just so sad.
And like you're saying, of like people not knowing in Dustin's scene with Eddie's uncle, the fact that Dustin even has to partially lie to him there, where he's like, I was with Eddie when the earthquake hit. Like, because that's just the explanation for it. It's like, oh, there was this big earthquake. It's a natural disaster. And he's telling a partial truth. He's like, no, he's a hero. He saved people, which is true. But Dustin still can't tell his uncle, hey, there's this supernatural evil in an alternate dimension that's sort of a negative world of us, because it's going to sound crazy. And his uncle understandably would react like, oh, I get it. You're making fun of me now.
Yeah.
And so that scene hurt so much because I'm going, nobody in Hawkins really gets to know the truth about it. And there is sort of a part of me that I hope when this is all wrapped up, I hope there isn't like this, oh, everybody knows about the upside down now and everybody knows about what happened. Because sort of the 80s horror trope, this has always sort of been along with, like Ben, you talked about with the flamethrower, of it sort of being like both Alien and The Thing. Like, part of the point of Aliens, when Weyland-Yutani is like, no, we'll just go to this planet and all this, and Ripley is the one going, hey, bad idea. No, we don't bring these things back. And at the end of The Thing, there are 2 people left alive. Well, maybe 1. We don't know. But nobody else outside of this one location even knows about what's happening. And I think for the horror to have been worth it, the whole world can't know.
Yeah. You have to go back to what Murray says in, what was that, season 2, when the military is leaving, or when he was like, we have to fabricate this story in a way that's believable to the public.
Yes.
Like, I think we need that to happen again.
Because people don't want to know. That's what he says in that, which I find to be very true. And they have that outlet. People are seeing something is totally wrong, and they're associating it with a devil in a board game. They're willfully ignoring the evidence in front of their face. And I think that's going to be a big part of season 5. The town is going to have reason to be alarmed, and they're going to put it in the wrong place.
Oh, without question.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's going to be very sad.
I think it'll be fine. Happy.
It's going to be such a different danger than the Upside Down, which has been like the evil, the villain throughout all of Stranger Things. That's what the central danger has come from. But now we're going to see it from like real life, and it's going to be people. It's going to be their neighbors. It's going to be their community. And those are going to end up being a big part of the danger for season 5, I think.
Kind of makes me wonder if a huge part of it, maybe they need to escape to the Upside Down to be more safe.
Wow, that's a thought. That's crazy.
Yeah, because those gates,
there's like so many things could happen in season 5. I'm so excited.
Those gates there's like easy access to the Upside Down now.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Right, we're
just jump right in.
Just a little weekend getaway.
Yeah.
Change of scenery. Well, we see it didn't look all that bad. Vecna saw it.
Just your average hellscape.
You know.
Chelsea.
Just get a real estate agent out there. You can probably get property real cheap.
We can get a theme park going. I mean,
Okay, I'm going to get us back on track for some of the. I think we talked a lot about the last episode. I'm going to start talking about the finale as a whole and how it fits into everything else. But before I do, wanted to share what are the current scores for all 4 seasons, because I was very curious about these numbers. So the Rotten Tomatoes critic scores for Series 4 are 88%, and the audience score is 89%. So they're both very close, but they did actually drop since our last conversation from the low 90s into the high 80s, which isn't a huge drop, but it is potentially indicative of what some people did think of these last 2 episodes. Now, season 1 with critics stands at 97 and audience is at 96, and this is going to be the highest one. Based on our last conversation, this does not surprise me in the least. It was that lightning in a bottle moment that we all just zoomed in on and we all loved. Season 2, critics 94, audience is 90. A bit of a drop. Season 3, critics 89 and audience is 86, which is closer in line to season 4, which is interesting to me because I thought season 4 was a huge leap up from 2 and 3. I would put it closer on par to 1. So I'm just very curious as to why, audiences had that reaction and critics as well.
I think that it's a product of, by this point, the watchers of Stranger Things, everybody has an idea of how they want Stranger Things to end, or like what they want from Stranger Things. And it's not going to necessarily match what the actual story is told by the Duffer Brothers. So like I was let down. I know you guys were really excited, but I was a little disappointed with the way the Upside Down went. Do I think it was wrong? No. I actually think that season 4 of Stranger Things was, other than season 1 of the best seasons, better than 2 and 3. But I think that that's probably what is contributing to the lower score. I mean, people want a specific thing to happen, and it's not necessarily aligned with the Duffer Brothers.
Totally agree. People reviewing a show negatively because of their own expectations is the story of fandom right now, and maybe forever.
Yeah, I love that the Duffer Brothers are telling the story that they want to tell, because fandom driving the stories that are told is how we get Rise of Skywalker. It's how we get Godzilla King of the Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong, which I admittedly actually kind of liked Godzilla vs. Kong, but it is such a fan appeasing film. But it's pleasing the fandom is not always going to give you the best story. Simple as that.
And
we need to get the story that needs to be told, not the one that we want to hear.
Right. And I maintain high hopes for the final season, simply because there's been the Duffers saying, okay, this is when it's going to end. Maybe that's part of it where I'm like, hey, Breaking Bad had 5 seasons and that show was perfect.
Yeah.
But it also ended because that's when the creator said, yep, this is the end of the story. That's where it's going to end. Even though AMC went, here's a giant sack of money for 2 more seasons so we can have syndication. And they went, no, this is going to be the end of the story. And I have no doubt there was probably a similar conversation between Netflix and the Duffers where they went, we have lots of money if you want to make even more. And they went, this is where the story's going to end.
One of my biggest complaints sometimes with shows is that they just go on too long. Seasons longer than they should. Sorry, go ahead, Miles.
I think we're seeing a flip in the monetary impact too. If your show gets to season 6 and you blow it, you don't get another show, even if your first 5 seasons were great. Like, look at the creators of Game of Thrones. They were the toast of the town. They had a Star Wars trilogy lined up and they blew it, and they're nothing. Like, the ending is so important. It is important for the rest of your life.
And funnily enough, to them, they should have taken the giant stack of money to make more episodes because they had so many plot threads to wrap up. And they were just like, no. We just half a season, guys. We got this. No problem.
Another fan service moment, in my opinion. They thought they were looking at, we got to kill characters. We got to have big moments. People are tired of watching people talk at tables. And no, you're wrong. This is not a Game of Thrones episode, though. I could go on about this for some time.
That has been my fear with Stranger Things since like the ending of season 3, is that we will have another Game of Thrones on our hands. We've talked about it in our own podcast, Miles. But I feel after watching season 4, I do feel so much better about it, because I do feel like they are taking the necessary time.
I've been calling season 4 fancy exposition. I mean, it really isn't. Nothing truly changes, like truly changes.
True.
We are set up for season 5. That's why it's so long. It had a lot of work to do. Opposite of the Game of Thrones, they tried to push it through. I mean, it's really just peels of onions that makes it interesting. The actual information was technically all already there, and we just found out about it in an interesting way here.
Yeah, I keep thinking of season 5 as the part 2 to season 4, like the real part 2 to season 4. I don't know. We were left on way more of a cliffhanger with this season than we were for any of the other 3.
Oh, I mean, it's looking at sort of like the Marvel movies. I mean, Infinity War and Endgame was really a 2-part movie.
Yeah.
You had the whole setup to it. And then, okay, how do we resolve all of this? I agree. Season 4 was kind of that Infinity War setup, and this earthquake is akin to the snap. We know those gates are open. How's that all going to be dealt with down the line? I also hope they don't feel the need to go very Game of Thronesy and go, okay, we need to start killing off characters. There are a lot of them. Like, there were a lot of characters in the Goonies, which I really felt like was a big inspiration for all this. I mean, not felt like, the duffers have said Goonies, big inspiration. You don't have killing characters doesn't instantly make your show more interesting.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not the only form of stakes.
There's T-Bone and Porterhouse.
Ribeye.
Yeah.
Similarly, I brought up in last time we talked about this, Super 8. I don't think any of the main characters in Super 8 are killed off. They're all just incidental characters that you don't really get to know. None of the kids die, and it's like that's kind of what I want for 5. It's like don't kill the kids.
Yeah.
You know,
There's still people dying in Stranger Things. We just talked about Eddie, Bob, Billy. Some people say like, only the characters are introduced to die, and they just make us love them in between. It's like, that's the hard part. That's the magic. You should be appreciating that. Like the fact that we care enough about this character who we didn't even know in February of 2022,
Yeah.
And they don't always kill off characters that they introduce. That's why we still, Max is definitely in peril.
Robin.
But we still have Robin.
We still have Murray.
Yeah.
How did Murray make it through this?
I was
thought he
100% sure he was not making it out of this season.
Oh my God. I'm thrilled that he's made it.
Me too. I love Murray.
Although we never really saw him in the final scene, but I don't think that's because he didn't make it.
No. If Murray had died, they would have showed us.
Yeah,
I know there were some complaints about, well, what happened to, Murray? What happened to Yuri? And it's like, well, we don't need to see them in the final scene, because the emotional stakes for that are Elle and Hopper getting back together. That's the important reunion we wanted.
The hand-holding fans. Where's Murray? It's like, not that we weren't these fans, Kathleen, but but like never mind. You guys said it.
I didn't get to the end, and then that was one of my questions after it was over. It didn't even occur to me until later when I was like, oh yeah, they didn't show Murray in the final scene. But because like you said,
he wouldn't be there.
We didn't need to see it. Yeah.
Murray and Enzo are probably back at Murray's place, which has got all its various security features, and they're sitting there drinking whiskey and playing cards. Like, that's probably what's going on right now.
Oh,
Sounds great.
Doesn't it though?
And that ending also is one of the things that justified the 2.5-hour runtime. Was it gave them a moment to breathe after everything had happened. we always joke about how, yes, Return of the King has 5 different endings, but they really earned this because we've been waiting the whole season for everyone to get back together.
Yes.
We got those 10 beautiful minutes.
Yeah.
And then they immediately, of course, walk off into the field, and we're like, oh yeah, that's right. It's not really a happy ending, is it?
No. Empire Strikes Back is what I thought of when they're staring out into the galaxy at the end of Empire Strikes Back. That's what that moment in Stranger Things as they stood on the field felt like to me.
Mm.
And we have Max in the proverbial carbonite.
Hey.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And Lucas is Leia. Okay.
I am very afraid of what's going to happen to Max.
I think Max is going to end up being okay. And the only reason I say that is it was talked about with Henry that he absorbs a certain part of all his victims.
Yes.
And when we saw 11 go into Max's consciousness, it was just completely empty and blank. So I think her consciousness is a part of Henry now. And so when he's ultimately destroyed and defeated, because her physical form is alive, that can go back to her. And she'll rejoin. I think we'll see her psychically a fair amount because
I hope so.
She's too talented to not be in
Sadie Sink
needs
Sadie Sink needs to be on the screen.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. But I think we'll see her psychically throughout it. And then once Vecna gets his ultimate demise, we'll see her consciousness come back.
Because they emphasize that a couple times, him stating that everybody he's ever killed is with him and will always be with him. So Miles and I talked about that for sure. I'm like, she better be in season 5. If they have her basically gone the whole time, like Will in season 1, that she's just there in the end, I'll be so sad.
Oh, agreed.
Since you made the Avengers comparison, Bjorn, I wondered, gosh, wouldn't it also just be magical if we had like that moment where in Endgame, like a snap, and everyone that Vecna has killed specifically gets to come back?
Oh,
a pretty good moment is just their consciousness being something to fight back against him as well, or just as he's destroyed, just acknowledgements, making peace with things.
Yeah.
If Nancy could finally be reunited with Fred, my heart.
Yeah.
Oh, what if she's reunited with Barb somehow?
Oh,
I expected. Didn't you expect Barb when Nancy flashed into the pool, like for Vecna to be talking through Barb as he talked through Billy? I expected that, but it didn't happen.
I liked that they did that flash to season 1. I mean, because like Barb has always kind of been there throughout the seasons. She's always brought up in some, even a small way, that Nancy like still feels that guilt for Barb.
No one else
Poor
cares.
Barb. No, nobody else cares. Yeah.
Miles actually cheered when Barb was killed.
Yeah. I was just happy to get rid of the dead weight, and so that Nancy and Steve could be together now. No.
Oh.
And as much as I love Eddie, stop with your petitions for bringing him back. He's not coming back, guys.
I agree. I don't think that he should come back. I think he died in such a noble way that it would take away from that.
It's also this isn't that show. This isn't that show. Like, we don't see people just coming back. It's game over, man.
Yeah. The only person that we could see coming back is Max, and that's because 11 was able to like preserve her body, so she has a way to come back. Eddie doesn't really have a way to come back that makes sense.
No. Yeah. Just live on in music videos.
I'm going to skip over a couple of the questions I have here because we've really covered a lot just now, but I am going to ask, thinking back to our last conversation, can you think of any predictions that you made for these last 2 episodes that did come true? Because I remember that was
all
a
my
big
predictions are wrong.
part.
All of them were wrong.
So Eddie died and I hated it. That was my prediction. So I was like, he's gonna die and I'm gonna hate it. Well, that happened.
That was probably the only prediction that I got right. I mean, it was obvious that Eddie was going to die, so I knew it was coming, but everything else I just had completely wrong.
Yeah, I was not ready for essentially the villain winning in a sense. Like again, just talk about the horror of the scene with Max, where I'm like y'all said, wait, is this really happening? We're watching this right now. And then because she was technically dead for that stretch of time, he got his kill, the final gate opened. Yeah, I was not ready for that. I was so sure we were going to see the defeat of Vecna Henry. We're going to see a whole new villain next season. Nope, not at all.
I thought that too, and I was wrong. Happy to be wrong, though. I've been wrong every time and been happy with the Duffer Brothers. I think they might be better than me at this now that it's 4-0. I predicted that Vecna and Mind Flayer were going to have like a confrontation with each other. So that's still possible for season 5, but did not happen.
Yeah,
I don't know if I would have called this a prediction when I talked about it, but I do remember talking about how I did want Vecna to be the big villain and that I did want him to show up and get into season 5. So in a way I got that right, but that was more of a hope than a prediction, because I don't think I particularly picked anyone out to die or anything like that. It was just
I predicted a big dog music, a big band would be featured because of what happened with Kate Bush. I thought it would be like Springsteen or Prince, but Metallica is great as well.
I predicted that Nancy was going to be held by the Mind Flayer and that they were going to have to somehow like get her out of the trance like they did with Max, and that was completely wrong.
Immediately.
Yeah, immediately wrong. I was like, okay, yeah. I mean, I made so many predictions, I feel like, and I don't remember most of them. I just remember that all of them were wrong.
I was sure that episode 8 was going to be all of our groups coming together before the finale. And again, I could not be happier that I was wrong about that, where every separate location, they had stakes in it. The fact that we saw the saltwater sensory deprivation again for 11, which is a great callback from how often that was used in earlier seasons. And big shout out to our, hero of the moment, Argyle, for knowing where they could get just a metric butt ton of salt. Because as someone who has worked fast food, I'm like, sure, like we got all this crap in our kitchen. What do you need? Yeah, we got that.
I like his like mental measuring of the box too. He's just like, yeah, I think that could work.
It also led to one of the funniest moments of the season, maybe ever, when Max is in her horrified state and she says, "How are you here?" And 11 just says, "I piggybacked from a pizza dough freezer."
Oh yeah.
And Max goes, "What?" Loved that.
Yeah, that was funny.
Oh, I also got a good laugh when they were doing the montage of getting everything prepared, and then Argyle pulls a pizza out of the oven.
Oh yeah.
They're setting everything up in one of the things. I forgot about that.
That's what Argyle's doing. But you know what? That's what he knows how to do.
Yeah,
he knows how to feed people.
You got to make sure you got fuel for the journey ahead. So make sure
had
some food.
How real hero is
pulling without resting and eating.
Yeah.
You got to stop.
And then you ruin it by putting pineapple on it.
Listen.
Oh, Miles is so
okay.
I was eating pizza with pineapple on it last night, and I was happy.
I love like that mental or that conversation, that argument that they have about the pineapple too. Yeah. It's just like, okay, that's Miles. Miles is the anti-pineapple. Yeah.
It's okay.
You're Argyle.
I resonate with long-haired characters.
Talk about long hair. He's got beautiful long hair too.
Right?
Oh my gosh, so gorgeous.
Actually, I gotta say that wig that they had on Joseph for playing Eddie, That's a damn impressive and damn fine wig.
Yeah, it looks very realistic. Like
Yes.
it does look like it's real hair.
I
Your hair. It is very similar to your hair.
Yeah, and when I saw, I'm like, oh, cool, we have the same hair. And then I found it was a wig. I'm like, that's a great wig.
I know.
It's almost like they have a budget for these things.
Yeah.
So weird.
All right, I'm going to jump into one of the next questions here, and I'm going to jump a little bit further than I think we're expecting. So I think I'm going to try and combine two questions into one. So knowing where we're at now with the series, do you have any new predictions for the final season? Or is there anything you want to see that hasn't been covered yet? Do you think the time jump that they've talked about is necessary given where we're at? And also, what's your reaction to shorter episodes for Stranger Things 5?
I kind of don't know how the hell they're going to do the time jump right now, just because it seems that things that may be happening in Hawkins, the reactions by locals and whatnot, I'm just really curious how that's going to be. I am much like Miles, and the Duffers are better writers than I am. So I'm sure they'll have a way of figuring all that out. The one prediction I will throw out there, because I'm wrong about most things. So I'll predict Dustin's going to die just to protect him, because if anything happens to
Reverse
Dustin,
jinx.
I will burn the Duffers to the ground and just. But yeah, I don't know how they're going to do this time jump. The shorter episodes doesn't bother me. They know how to tell a story better than I do. I thought the 2.5 hour finale, I was going, man, how much of this is just going to be exposition, waste of time? No, it was just this 2.5 hour ramp up of emotions. So
right,
they know how to do it better than I do. So my faith is there, and I'll be there watching it along with everybody else.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, you go ahead, Miles.
No, you go.
Okay. I agree that I don't know how they're going to be able to do that time jump with like the state of the town and like the hysteria that's got to be going through there. But I'm sure the Duffer brothers will do what they got to do for their story. I think was it Ben that you said maybe they escape into the upside down, or was that you, Bjorn? I don't know. Like, do we see them like escape into the upside down and they just live there for a couple years and then they come back out and they're like back into their current, like the timeline of end of season 4? But I don't know. I don't want to make any predictions because I was completely wrong on everything.
It's all just for fun.
But as far as the length of the episodes go, you know what? I think the episodes should be as long as they need to be for the Duffer brothers to tell their story. And whether that's 30-minute episode or 2-hour episodes, I think they just have to go with the story and not pay attention to like not setting boundaries on timelines.
Yeah, I think the run times for season 4 had to do with how much work season 4 really had to do to set up a compelling series finale, because the first 3 seasons were so isolated within themselves. So I'm okay with season 5 kind of returning back. I think we do get a time jump. I think we get a time jump just like Infinity War at the snap. We then get a time jump after that 5 years later in Endgame. And I think just as some of my favorite scenes in Endgame are, Natasha Romanoff eating that PB&J and just the tears in her eyes. We didn't get to see that 5 years, but we let the actor do it,
That's a good point.
I think that's what I want out of that. I know that's what I want out of Stranger Things. Let these actors show us where they've been for 2-3 years. The actors are getting a little too old. The suspension of disbelief might break for me if we go yet another one. I'll admit season 4 was okay. I didn't think, Lucas is 20 playing a freshman. That didn't bother me. But now being like 23 playing a freshman, it's starting to get to the point where I'm about to break. So I'm hoping for a time crunch and then for things to be like completely not set up and the actors have to give it to us.
And you talking out about having the time jump on that. We talked about, you mentioned earlier, it looks like Henry Vecna's physical form might be currently destroyed. Going back to what I said earlier about a lich, it takes them time to reform their bodies. So, okay, Vecna maybe not being a current threat, nothing coming out of these gates, maybe the Upside Down sort of dormant. If there's nothing for the Scooby Gang to do, we're not going to watch them drive Mystery Machine around just having malts.
Yeah. And if we jump to their senior year, 3 years later, 89 or something like that, and the actors get to show us how they've changed in the last 3 years, that's going to be really interesting for the first couple episodes.
Yeah.
What did they patch up the Upside Down with there? I predict some government shenanigans.
Maybe Will Byers can actually have a decent haircut.
What do they do in 89? Let's see. He's going to have like
the bowl cut was still very strong at that time.
True.
Well, the bowl cut just goes a little bit higher because it seems to be going up and up and up.
Oh gosh.
It's just going to eventually look like a yarmulke.
It's going to be a little tough.
Well, I agree with Miles in the sense that the episodes can be as long as they need to be. I think we got spoiled a little bit with these long episodes. When you compare that side by side to what Disney Plus has been doing with these 6 half-hour episodes, it's like, okay, we need a little bit more than that to get this story told. But I trust that, if we're even talking, they only cut like 15 minutes and cut it down to 45-minute episodes. As long as they are telling the right story, it should be fine.
Yeah. Well,
and
didn't we talk about it as a group that at this point, if you're watching, you'll watch anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, we've become collectively used to the idea that the end should be the longest part, like Endgame was this big monster of a movie, all that kind of stuff. But, we tend to forget, going back to Lord of the Rings, if you've read the books, Return of the King is the shortest book.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good point. The setup to it, if done well, can lead to a shorter, more thrilling ending. That's what I think of Lord of the Rings as.
Do we know they don't have like a set amount of episodes they're gonna do yet, right?
Hey guys, sorry I can't hear you. And Lady, I don't know how.
Hi.
It's Miles' wife, Kathleen. This is Jamie, as I mentioned before. She's off to her performance of Love's Labor's Lost.
Oh, nice.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Shakespeare.
Keep forever.
Forever. Yes.
You made the Crift ship.
I don't remember what we were talking about.
Yeah.
I think we're on to the next question. I think
All right.
we thoroughly answered.
All right. So Stranger Things may be coming to an end with Series 5, but the brand is going to live on. There is going to be a spin-off series, but the Duffer Brothers have said that it will be, quote, 1,000% different from the series that we know now. From what I've read, they're going to develop a new idea and they're going to hand it off to a new director. So what do you want to see from a Stranger Things spinoff? And it's not supposed to include any of the characters that we have come to know and love.
Oh, it's not?
Nope.
I was hoping for a full cheesy 90s sitcom called Harrington's Brood. In which
I would watch the hell out of
Steve and Nancy simply raised their 6 kids in a completely tone different full sitcom. Or like a CSI type, Murray and Yuri smuggling together, kind of an odd couple, friction there, maybe a love triangle with the real Katinka. I was looking for one of those.
I can't tell if you're serious or not, but I would actually watch both of those.
I would too.
I was joking, but I would absolutely watch them.
Yes.
Especially Murray and Yuri. You kidding me?
Murray and Yuri.
Yeah.
So it's not going to have any of the characters, Ben? Is that so? None of the characters in the show?
That's correct.
I don't know that I actually care about it being called, considered, or related to Stranger Things in any way, shape, or form. It kind of just sounds like it's its own damn thing, which is great.
Yeah.
Like make more stuff, but
Yeah, like I don't really watch it for the lore. I watch it for the characters. You know, the fact that we have like 12 characters that we love is the magic of Stranger Things for me. I've always joked, what is the Upside Down? It's whatever they need it to be right now.
Yeah.
Like, so the 1000% different thing too is like makes it really hard to predict. But wait, 100% different would be the opposite, right?
yeah.
So what's 1,000? Is that just
We're in a whole
spinning that
other
clock.
dimension.
maybe it's a math documentary?
Maybe there's like a different type of upside down that we're gonna visit.
yeah.
I don't know.
The
I
inside
don't know.
out.
nature documentary of the upside. David Attenborough. It's like, no, the majestic Demogorgon wasn't always a beast.
I would watch that too.
Okay, that's my third offering.
I do think that it needs to be not like Stranger Things, because we don't want to see Stranger Things be overdone. Leave it as is. Give us this final season and let us cherish that. Although, we did have Breaking Bad and then Better Call Saul. We actually didn't watch Better Call Saul, but I've heard that it was amazing. I don't know how different Better Call Saul was than Breaking Bad.
Of course, it also had a lot of the same characters, though. Whereas here they're saying we're not going to get any of the. It just seems so weird to me to say it's like, oh, it's going to have its own spin-offs and things. One, but the tone's completely different. It's going to be directed by somebody else. It's not going to have any of the same actors. So
is it a spin-off?
Yeah.
Maybe it'll just be in Hawkins, Indiana, just later about something completely different, and that'll be the only connection.
Holly Wheeler is a lawyer at a popular firm, but she's never found love. She's always been too caught up in her career.
Okay, this is turning into a Hallmark movie.
She's gonna she's gonna go somewhere else and meet a cowboy who teaches her the true meaning of Christmas.
Perfect for Netflix.
One of the things they could have done, but I think I just feel like it's too late to do this now, is Stranger Things could have been an anthology series where each season just brings you in a new location, a new set of characters, and a new weird tale to tell. But now that we're 5 seasons in with the same characters and telling this beautiful tale, like I think it's just too late for it to spin off into something different. Like, you can't just slap the Stranger Things title onto any sci-fi series at this point and call it an anthology, unless their plan is to actually do an anthology series that each story is 5 seasons long.
Good luck finding the same cast. I mean, this is something special here.
That is what makes it so great. I mean, not only the story, but that they got the best possible cast for it.
Yeah, you had a collection of performers that, as an audience, we didn't know who the hell any of them were outside of Winona Ryder. And it was, we could relate to it being, okay, we can see we're inspired by the Goonies, or inspired by E.T., any of that had those storytelling touchstones, but we didn't know what we were getting into when we watched The Disappearance of Will Byers. We had no idea. So, I mean, good luck to them, but you don't capture lightning in a bottle twice. So, I expect a full enthusiastic attempt that will get canceled after a season or 2.
Well, maybe it will be like another nostalgia basis, but this time in the 90s, kind of like on the same vein as what Miles said. I don't know.
Harrington's Brood.
Yeah.
I was gonna say 90s, make it animated and take place in the sewers.
Yes. Turtles.
Yep.
I mean, I do wish them well. It's not like I don't want the spinoff to fail. I like to see something like this succeed, but as we've said, it's just not going to capture our imaginations the same way that this show did.
Yeah.
If they if they come up with a brand new idea and they decide instead of making it a spinoff to make it its own new thing with a completely different brand, then I think I'd be a little more enthusiastic. You know, the way that if J.J. Abrams, you know, in 2008 had said, I'm doing this new show called Fringe and it's a spinoff of Lost, I'd have been like, I don't know. But he just did Fringe, and Fringe was its own thing. And it's like, cool, a new J.J. Abrams show. Right. That's all you need to do is say it's a new Duffer Brothers show. And you don't need to, the name should carry it from here on out.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, so this last question is about the Emmy nominations, which I did not include when I originally sent out the email. So here's the list of Emmy nominations for Stranger Things for Outstanding Drama Series, Outstanding Stunt Performance for Chapter 4, Dear Billy, Outstanding Production Design for a Narrative Period or Fantasy Program, 1 hour or more, for Chapter 7, The Massacre at Hawkins Lab, Outstanding Single Camera Picture Editing for a Drama Series for Chapter 4, Dear Billy, Outstanding Stunt Coordination for a Drama, Series, Limited, or Anthology Series or Movie, Outstanding Sound Editing for a Comedy or Drama Series, 1 hour, for Chapter 7, The Massacre at Hawkins Lab, Outstanding Special Visual Effects in a Season or Movie, Outstanding Casting for a Drama Series, and that is it for this season. No acting nominations for any individuals, and I know a lot of people have been upset by that one.
I made my first meme. It was a meme with Angela with the cross her shirt Emmys, and then Millie Bobby Brown smashing them with a skate, because what the heck happened here?
Yes.
Yeah. It's astounding to me that none of the actors were nominated. I don't understand how they could not be nominated.
Sadie Sink alone. I don't understand. Like, yes, everybody in this show is incredibly talented, but as far as if I had to single out one performer where I go, who really just kind of blew you away? Her. She had big moments, she had subtle moments, she just showed a great variety of range. And then in what may have been her final moments about the whole not ready to die, like just so friggin' moving. I mean, Dear Billy is an episode by itself, should have actually just been called for your Emmy consideration, because incredible. She was so good.
Sadie brought like such dread to it, such like cool dread. I don't know how else to explain it, but like it wouldn't have worked in a lesser actor's hands. Like,
no,
I feel like we're so spoiled with both Sadie and Millie's plot lines there, 11 and Max. Like, it could have gone really wrong if not for the subtlety and just the power that they bring it. I'm absolutely amazed. What I read is, and maybe Ben, you can help me with this, that Volume 2 is not part of this, so not part of the Emmy consideration, or something. Like, I read something like it's like barely misses the cut.
Yeah, that might be part of it, because Volume 2 came out in July, and I think the cutoff for consideration for the Emmys may have been mid-June.
Yeah, I feel like that's hurting it a little bit, or that the Emmys are like punishing them for that. I don't know. That may be the wrong word, but
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some of the noms and whatnot for it come out post season 5, kind of like with Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. I don't think it's the best movie of the three, to tell the truth. Like, I think Two Towers is the one that really deserved that, but it's sort of one of those things where the Academy itself are finally going, okay, well, we need to give it something now. So I wouldn't be surprised if Sadie Sink, assuming she's going to be in season 5, like I think she will, she might get a nom there, when it's going to be kind of like, okay, she really deserved it for this one, but we'll give it to her here. All that politics that happen with
I could see that. It wouldn't be a Sunday matinee episode, Ben, if I didn't bring up the Beatles here, but it's like the the over awarding of the Beatles solo careers to making up for the fact that the Beatles should have won Album of the Year every single year of the 1960s, and then they just start awarding them later stuff as solo artists. Like, no, you missed it, Grammys. They should have gotten every single award in the 60s.
When has the Grammys ever been a legitimate award?
That's a good point. Bob Dylan didn't win one until 97. So
best metal album, Jethro Tull. Okay. Sure.
Oh, I remember the year Steely Dan won. It was just ridiculous. It wasn't even a prime Steely Dan.
Oh man.
Well, I will wholeheartedly admit, I'm looking at, because if we're just talking about Sadie Sink, I imagine that she would have been supporting actress in a drama series would have been her nomination.
Mm-hmm.
Just looking at who did get nominated for what shows. One, I didn't watch most of this stuff.
Sure. That's my problem.
The only nominee for supporting actress in a drama series in a show that I watched was Patricia Arquette for Severance, and I'll give her that. That was a really good performance. But you have shows in there like Ozark, Squid Game, Yellow Jackets, Better Call Saul. Succession is a huge one, I've heard, for the acting community to rally behind, and then Euphoria. Yeah. So
I've heard
they are going up against stiff competition. Yeah,
that is a stacked category.
My only question is, do they have a set number of noms that they do, or could there have been an additional one? Because I know sometimes in categories there's a very fixed, we nominate this number of people and that's it, or is it a little more nebulous?
It looks like among the acting categories, they have 8 nominations
for each one
per category.
Okay, so it's entirely possible that they felt that there were 8 that deserved it more. I would actually like to submit that, since it sounds like all of us, we didn't watch most of those, maybe that tells you who really deserved the nom. Like, I mean, this podcast is really the single pulse of what is worthwhile. And so if
at least essential.
Yeah. So if we didn't watch it, then how good could they have been?
Exactly.
I mean, are there lots of podcasts on Ozark? I don't know.
Maybe.
There's tons of podcasts.
We don't know. That's the point.
Yeah, the only of all the stuff I'm looking at in these, and I know I should be better at watching a lot of this stuff. Again, Severance is the only show that's getting a lot of nominations that I've really gotten into. Succession is one I just keep hearing about that I should be watching. Squid Game, obviously.
You didn't watch Squid Game?
It was very good.
That I think you would like.
You should watch.
I'm sure I would.
Yeah. That was phenomenal.
Yeah, I thought it was excellent. The only thing that I wish I had the opportunity for is that to watch it with the actors actually speaking their own language and just have it subtitled. But everybody was interpreted. So I don't know.
I also I think it's kind of funny that here we are, like, so upset about these actors not getting nominations coming out of a Netflix series, when literally at the top of the show we talked about, HBO is just putting out so much more quality content.
I know. That's a good point.
How much of these shows were on HBO? The ones that were nominated.
Succession definitely is. I know Severance is on Apple. Squid Game obviously is Netflix. Yep. Euphoria is HBO.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
well, and so best show, right? Stranger Things 4 is in the big.
It did get nominated for best drama series.
Yeah. I think the length may knock it out. And best casting. Well, that makes sense. They did a great job adding these characters.
Yeah.
I think season 5 is probably the year for Stranger Things if they nail the landing.
Like it'll be hard for the nominations just not be there.
Yeah.
Like I think kind of akin to Schitt's Creek after its final season. Because there is a show that knocked the landing out of the park, just perfection. And then it was just awards time. Hey, all of them. Just have
take them
all of them.
Rightly
Sorry for ignoring
so,
you.
too.
Yeah.
Rightly so.
No, I
They
think
deserved everyone.
you're completely correct there, Miles. That if they nail the landing on this, if after the series finale we just all go, "Wow, what a ride! That was perfect," then it's just gonna go, best background extra, Stranger Things. Like it's gonna be just every last category you can think of that they could possibly qualify for. The nominations will just be there, and they will win a good number of them because it'll be like, how can you not?
Yeah.
Well, and even if the Emmys ultimately let us down, surely the Saturn Awards will pick us up and pat us on the back and say, "It's a sci-fi show. We've got you covered here."
Thank you, Saturn Awards.
Nothing else. I can run down to the craft store and I'll start building awards for everyone. Here you go.
And mail them to the actors'
Exactly.
home addresses.
I just hope that Stranger Things' only big success in award seasons doesn't end up being at the People's Choice Awards because I hate that show so much.
I like the
Because
idea of
the
making
people-
our own awards, Ben. Let's get it going.
That's not a bad idea, actually.
Yeah.
Future
Stranger
episode
Things wins all of them.
starts nominating a ton of stuff. All right. So we've talked a lot about Stranger Things. I think it's time for the final thoughts on Stranger Things for Kathleen. Let's start with you. Final thoughts on, and you can cover the whole series, not just these 2 episodes, because now we have every piece of the puzzle.
I thought it was absolutely excellent, amazing. Won out only by season 1 because you just can't relive that. No, I thought it was better than seasons 2 and 3, especially the Dear Billy episode, probably the best episode of Stranger Things, in my opinion. Everything about it, the fact that we are evolving with them, that this is now we're seeing them more in an adult view rather than a children's view. I absolutely loved it. I was surprised by some of the things that they did. So many questions, but it I don't know, it's just opened the door for anything to happen in season 5.
Bjorn, what are your final thoughts?
Brilliant storytelling of a season from beginning to end. So many arcs for so many characters. Episode 1, we meet everyone's new favorite character that we're all heartbroken is gone in Eddie Munson, and the way that he talks about how he brought our beloved kids into the Hellfire Club, where he's like, I saw you and you were lost and I brought you in, and you guys can be the future of Hellfire. And then we see in his final moments with Dustin and telling him prior to that, never change. Because Eddie was a guy who never changed. He was unapologetically himself. And he wanted that same thing for Dustin, telling him, don't change. I really hope that becomes part of his arc for season 5, where we see just him taking more of a forefront. But great character arc there. Everything we saw with Max, where she just seems so distant and aloof, and then we find out it's because of things she's been just trouble sleeping, visions she's having, the way that ties into her being hunted by Vecna. Obviously, the Dear Billy episode being just perfection in television. Everything with Lucas, which I think to anybody who remembers being a teenager, so relatable, of wanting to be part of something. And I loved his moment when he was talking about, I don't want to be picked on anymore. I want to be cool. I want to be accepted. And then just seeing how ultimately he's like, no, I don't want to be around these people. They suck. Everything with 11, of course, so many characters got such great emotional arcs in this. And I don't know that we ever saw a season where you got to see so much with so many characters throughout. So loved the length of the episodes for that reason. And David Harbour swinging a Conan sword.
Go for it, Miles.
Stranger Things 4 was a rousing success. I think we have to not a rousing success, though maybe.
Well, yeah.
I mean, we did talk about David Harbour swinging the sword, so. But I think we forget, or maybe it's been a couple months now, but season 4 had to stand on its own. Season 3 was so long ago.
Yeah.
The hype had died down. The momentum had fizzled, and season 4 introduced us to Vecna, the running up that hill cultural sensation, the performance by Sadie Sink, the consistent performance by Millie Bobby Brown, who is just amazing. And oh, by the way, Winona Ryder, like we have so much in this show we take for granted that is just you settle into this like warm glow. And all of this, the emotional arcs were powerful, but all of this was in the end a setup for season 5, what I call fancy exposition. It's all it really was, and I absolutely love that. And I'm so excited for season 5. The ending, I've already got it plotted out. Everybody's dead, and Winona, Joyce and Hopper standing together, and they're in the upside down. Hopper's got his shirt off with the sword. Joyce is clinging to him, and she says, "God, I wish this was all a dream." And then it's long, slow zoom on Hopper, and he says, "Stranger things have happened." And then he wakes up.
If that happens, I will punch you. Just because you put that into the ether.
It's at the end, and my doorbell just rings. Bjorn.
Oh my
Lord.
goodness.
It'll just be one, but you'll deserve it.
Well, I will deserve it. It's terrible.
And it will say in parentheses, "This idea brought to you by Miles McGillivray." And there'll just be a line of people behind me waiting for their turn to
Home
talk.
address. Yeah.
Anyway,
one other little thing I want to say that I absolutely did love on this, because David Harbour has toned up and dropped a lot of weight since we saw him in season 3. And a lot of times we see that happen with performers, and there's no good plausible reason why all of a sudden they look completely different. So shout out to making it completely understandable why he would all of a sudden be so much lighter. He's not been eating well, and he's been doing manual labor. So I went, I like that when there's an actual explanation for it, as opposed to just from one season to the next when not that much time has passed. We're going, all right, why do they look completely different now?
Yeah. Agreed.
for me, what ultimately works about this season is that I mentioned the idea of Stranger Things as an anthology series earlier. To me, seasons 1 through 3 felt like that in the sense that you have the same characters coming back, but the dots with everything that's going on in the Upside Down are only slightly connected. We're not sure yet what is really going on. In this season, the dots are there. They're connected. We have the great grand picture. You can go back and watch 1 through 3 now and be like, I see what's going on here. I get this set up. This is what's really happening. And it makes those seasons so much better. And this is that Empire Strikes Back part of the story where, yes, the I am your father moment is the you created me moment.
Yeah.
And now I am coming back to make everything worse for you. And so now we have a Return of the Jedi coming up here. And
Come to you,
it's, oh Lord. But yeah, everything you all have said about this is the cliffhanger season. Finally, a season that really gets you pumped for what's coming up next, because you have some thought of like, okay, something's coming back, but what's it going to do? So I'm more excited for the next season of Stranger Things than I have been in a long time. And I'm really excited that, we already know they're going to sit down and they're going to start writing this, in about a month. And then hopefully by 2024, please be no later than 2024.
No kidding.
Take your time, make it the best.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Take your time to make it as good as it needs to be. But, please, world, do not have a mass worldwide shutdown again that is going to keep us from this show or anything else that we love.
What could possibly go wrong?
Numbers aren't going up again, whatever. So, yeah, just this season really got me more excited for this show than I have been in a long time, and it does make me want to go back and rewatch it. So, thank you, Duffer Brothers, for taking the time to make this big magnum opus that is going to just get us set up for something that I hope is just special.
Oh no, I'm with you there, Ben, about just possibly wanting to do the whole rewatch because of all the breadcrumbs that were there. Like I just read a thing where somebody pointed out, hey, was it Vecna that grabbed Will Byers way back in that first episode? Because the thing that was able to eventually draw them out was Should I Stay or Should I Go? Where it's that song that he had the connection to his brother with, where it's like a meaningful piece of music has continually been a through line on this. And there's no way that's an accident. Like that is something that was set up way back here. That to me, all the music coming full circle, that's the hold the door moment for this series.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Pass the Deutsche on the left-hand side will play a pivotal role for Argyle's defeat of Vecna.
Oh goodness.
I hope Argyle has more left to do, please. I love that guy.
Yeah.
And that brings us to trivia. And guess what, everybody? I'm going to give you all a point today, a free point, because my question was, the sword Hopper uses to kill the Demogorgon is a prop from which 1980s film? And it has been spoiled at least 3 times already. So and I am not smart enough to come up with a new trivia question off the top of my head. So congratulations, everyone.
I'm just curious. Am I the only one who recognized what it was instantly?
I did
Yeah.
not.
Okay.
I didn't recognize it. That's all you.
I like high fantasy
Take
and
our
swords and
points.
dragons and nerds. I'll take them all, Ben. No.
Yeah.
Just for kicks, though, I will tell you that your choices would have been Conan the Barbarian, Willow, Dragon Slayer, or Legend.
If it had been from Willow, I would have instantly recognized it too.
Yeah.
I love Willow.
Willow is that's my jam. God,
Yeah, so good. Aren't they doing a remake of that?
no, they're doing a series that is a
Series sequel.
follow up. Yeah, it's Warwick Davis as Willow, who he's significantly older, and they're coming to him because they need his help. It's gonna have the daughter of Mad Mardigan and Sorsha in it. They brought back the actress who played Sorsha because we see her older. She still has her same badass looking sword. I'm so pumped. I'm so pumped.
Oh,
Warwick Davis
super pumped for
is at
that.
the helm of it, and I've seen that they have some characters that clearly are Nelwyns, and they've actually cast little people in those roles, unsurprisingly, because Warwick Davis is involved. But this is not a Willow show.
Cool.
I need to not get.
Oh yeah, sorry.
It's
my bad.
We'll probably do a Willow episode though once
Sounds
that's all
I'll
done.
be there for that one.
So now this means that Miles, you are up to 4 points. Bjorn, you're up to 2. Kathleen, you have 1. So Miles, you are tied with Sarah for second place at this point.
All right. After my failure at whatever last episode I did, it's nice to be rewarded. Thank you, Bjorn.
I would just like to say my 1 point is a full mercy point.
No one has to know that. The context fades.
Well, they'll all know it now. Oh.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it happens. It happens, you know. Sometimes my panelists are just gonna I don't want to say spoil, but they're gonna outsmart me and like, darn it all, I thought I had this one in the bag. Oh, all right.
I was sure that I was so ready to get my trivia points. I was like, Ben's gonna have a Metallica question.
I know.
I'm ready for this. Like I'm so up. But I'm among the metal nerds who are all like, so how badass is it that Eddie Munson clearly got Master of Puppets, and in about a week, that character learned how to play it basically perfectly? Because on the timeline, the date of the release of that album versus, okay, they were on spring break here. So usually when that happens and Eddie was on the run for a week, they're going, he had maybe 2 weeks to learn how to play that song. It's not an easy song to play without having a transcription written out.
No internet.
Nope. Eddie Munson, clearly one hell of a guitarist.
Corroded Coffin
to be
may have gone
you with that.
No, I got that one too. Corroded Coffin could have gone somewhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that is our episode for the week. Stranger Things for Volume 2, the finale of what we started. I'm going to be so curious if, once 5 comes out, they're going to split it up again. I'm kind of ready to just take it all in at once next time. But
Same.
that's a whole different conversation for 2 years from now. So episode 51, Stranger Things. I just want to say thank you to everyone for being patient while we got this episode set up, because life stuff happens with all of us. So
Yeah, it does.
it's been a few weeks since I've done anything. And since I will be going into rehearsal mode, goodness knows how I'm going to start scheduling these for the next month and a half. So that being said, look forward to Thor, look forward to Miss Marvel. I really, on our Obi-Wan episode, Kyle brought up a great idea of doing an episode about fan edits. I like the idea of doing an award show. So there's stuff to look forward to. It'll be just interesting to see how it all gets scheduled out as new theater seasons begin. And again, congratulations, Bjorn. 2 years waiting to get this show up.
Congrats.
My show was only delayed from January, so I'm not quite as bottled up as you've been, but I'm so excited that theater seasons are back.
So you and me both, and I've already got the next thing lined up when this one's done, and I'm hoping, like you said, that we don't have a big, massive worldwide shutdown again. Please, can be maybe a little more responsible this time. Maybe I don't know.
We're fine. I'm kidding. Sorry, bad joke.
Thank you to Bjorn. Thank you to Miles. Thank you to Kathleen. I'm your host, Ben Stahl. This has been the Sunday Matinee. Enjoy your movies, enjoy your shows. Stay safe out there, everyone, and have a good day.